welcome everyone who has joined to the new episode of Watercolor with me. This is Sunil Kalwandi, your host. I'm going to do a landscapes, a little more a simple house. As you see, there is a quarter sheet. I'm using a Saunders 300 grams or 140 pounds paper. That's a 6B pencil. Most of my videos are geared towards beginners and intermediate. There's a lot of skills which I think can be translated. So I'm using a small sheet. Mainly it's because it's like it's a portrait mode so that it can be cropped for reels as such. So I have a Magello palette. Again, a messy palette is a good sign that the colors being used, and we will see how it goes. So at the moment, it's a simple house. I've got some. I'm just thinking about what else do we add. So there is a boat. I'm going to add a little bit of water and adding some. Should we call it as a bank or the foundation where this house sits in? So there is a small house. There's some vegetation, and I'm just taking time to draw different shapes so that I know where it's going to catch light and where it doesn't catch light. Okay, so every painting, doesn't matter how complicated the subject is, can be broken down into 4 easy steps. Doesn't matter what the subject is. Step 1 is the drawing, making sure that the drawing has the right perspective and it doesn't look odd. Yeah, usually you miss it because it's the perspective is wrong, or it's something's off, the scale is wrong, or the eye line is slightly wrong. So I'm drawing some vegetation just in the background. Again, I'm recording the audio post the video. So I have done 3 videos which I thought I've recorded the audio. I've been talking on my own, and I haven't selected the microphone. So I've been just talking without recording. I just saw the video and then it was working. So I'm just post recording it. So there will be a slight lapse in the thought process, but since it's still my painting, I generally know what the sense is. So feel free to do as dark as possible. At the moment, I'm not sure if it's my laptop. The top end is a little more higher contrast. I'm just using a medium-sized mop at the moment. I'm just cleaning up the palette. Usually you get nice grays. I'm putting in a little bit of gray, and then also there is a little bit of lavender. So I'm looking at lavender. Lavender is a nice fresh color. Oh, there is some accidentally I picked up some burnt umber. I'm just cleaning the brush, cleaning the paint itself. I'm just picking up some lavender, which now has some burnt umber. I'm putting in some cerulean blue. And then also that's a quick way to test it. While it's still wet, you can adjust it. So I'm just putting in some very light background. I'm picking up some cobalt and ultramarine blue. At the moment it's just cobalt blue. And also when you look at the brush, I'm just being asymmetric. I'm not just trying to be very clean in the brush, or the movements are slightly asymmetric so that you get some random patterns. So also while you guys are watching how I do the background, there is a new podcast called Wet on Wet podcast. I've got 5 episodes. This episode is about me interviewing other great watercolor artists. The goal is to tease out practical tips, advice, processes which we can apply in our own watercolor. I'm super excited about that prospect. I've got 5 incredible artists already. So that is Don Veller, Lauren McCracken, Sahil, Daniel Martinez, Sahil Massan, that is, and who's the other person? Sebastian Torman. So there's 5 artists, 5 episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and then Apple. Apple, unfortunately, it's only MP3. It's just audio, but I would pick any YouTube. That's my go-to place where I'm looking at some um, podcast and then go from there. Also, while you're looking at it, I am coming in adding some negative space. Those negative spaces are for leaves, which will mimic leaves when you look at the drawing. So if you, and now I'm just adding in some more reflection. Again, this painting is less than 30 minutes. There's a little bit of a mountain. Again, pale shades of lavender. I'm so used to using a Japanese calligraphy brush instead of synthetic. I hardly use synthetic brush these days. I have a rigger for drawing lines and other things, but 99% these days is just a mop and these calligraphy brushes. I picked them when I was on holiday in Malaysia. I paid like a £5, very cheap, but I've been using for years now. And once you're used to it, the chances are the next set of brush I'm going to pick, if I lose them or I break them, is some calligraphy brush. Mops will do its job well. You're quickly covering pigments and other things, but for details and other things, somehow the mops, the calligraphy brush, they tend to have a longer bristles and then they hold more volume, and they are excellent in terms of the tip. It has a very nice tip. So I'm mixing in some, picking up some more a small size mop, a little bit of white, a little bit of burnt yellow umber, not burnt umber, yellow umber, yellow ochre, that is, sorry, yellow ochre. What am I'm getting confused with my colors, and some Indian yellow. So I'm just picking up some lighter tones. So picking up some more light. I want is very light first tone, so that it's catching up some light. And I'm just being very careful about just adding some random shapes where it feels like it's catching some light. And I'm going to come in and then add some darker tones. So, but when you look at it, every element in the painting, I talk to a lot of students and other things, you want to have at least 3 tones, right? Doesn't matter what the color is. It could be a green, yellow, whatever color you want to pick. You want to add at least 3 different tones so that it doesn't look flat. Yeah, there is a light tone, medium tone, and a dark as at least as a 3. And in this case, I'm using, can be a little more than 3 tones, but as a minimum, you want to do 3 tones. And then also I'm using white as the lightest tone. You know what I mean? So white is the first tone, then there is a little more yellowish green, there is more yellow, and then there's the darker tones. In between, I'm mixing different shades of warm colors. In this case, I've been picking up some burnt sienna. Yeah, the camera struggles, especially when you're right under the painting. And this is not just me who's struggling with this thing. I've seen a lot of videos about how other people do it. I feel it's auto focus. It picks up the hand when it's right under that. And I try to be mindful, but it's very difficult, but especially when you're painting. If you're curious, I'm using a Sony Mark 1 ZV-E10. So this is a 4K camera. I usually pick up a used one for less than £500. This is a while. It's a really good camera, and then I'm recording. I have a Blue Yeti microphone, a standalone, and then also recently I've picked up Hollyland. It's called Hollyland microphone or mini microphones. They are very handy. I've been playing around recording outside the house, and then I thought I should invest into buying a couple of microphones. I've tested it once, it works well. Now it's so small and handy. At the moment, I'm recording using Hollyland microphone. I'm not sponsored by Hollyland, it's just one which I'm picking, which I picked. It had good reviews. Oop, I picked up a camera, and then if you look at it, now I'm going a little more bigger brush strokes, but it still has three tones I was talking about. Doesn't matter if you're putting an ant or you're putting an elephant in the painting, everything should look 3D, unless you're purposefully trying to make it look flat. You want to get that depth, and the depth usually comes from good drawing, and then also making sure that it is not flat. Yeah, and the scale is also important. So the house need to be a certain size. If you want to put a person, obviously you're going to try to put the house and the person approximately the height what you see in real life. And then I'm doing what you call a negative painting. I'm going very dark just outside the house so that you get maximum contrast. So any painting which has high contrast is it's interesting to see, and then also fun to paint as well. So highest contrast. So especially I like Don Weller's horse paintings. He's got such strong contrasts. He also comes from illustration background, so his contrasts are fantastic. And also there's another artist, Andy Evanson, which I've recorded. The podcast is coming. He's got a good control on high contrast painting, so he picks up compositions or picks up topics which are got strong contrast. But that's the usually paintings which you like. At least in my case, in my opinion, I like paintings which have a little more looser brush strokes and strong contrast. So I started my watercolor 2011, 2012. And then I've been dabbling around it, but I took a week's class with Alvaro Castagni. So at that time, I thought he was brilliant, and even now he's one of the strongest watercolor artists out there, right? So these days I feel it's like he is more, little more looser, but he picks subjects, but he paints like an impressionist. You wouldn't think very, very bold colors. Any of his paintings you look, there's so much gray, there's so much strong values, but yet he focuses on painting real life scenarios, but in a very impressionistic style. So other artists I admire is Joseph Zubikovic. Then there is Praful Sawan. There's another Indian artist. Praful, if you're listening, I would love to have you on the podcast. So is Joseph and Alvaro. I'm just trying to bombard them with the emails to see if I can get them come on the podcast. That would be a fantastic a podcast. Your artists who you admire. And I think this is again the way I've been improving my watercolors. I've been looking at my watercolors for a very long time. And old paintings to new paintings. Huge amount of improvement just by mimicking other artists. Coming back to the painting, I'm adding some shadows. I added some burnt sienna and then some dark under the where the water meets. And I'm just going in, adding some neutral colors and adding some shadows under the roof. And then that has been a big improvement right now. And then also I've been practicing. I'm not particularly strong with human anatomy. I try to avoid drawing portraits and other things. Human body and other things is not a problem for me. Animals is not a problem. I've been practicing a few more of human sketch, and then also I've been forcing myself to put them in a sketchbook. I generally draw in a loose sheet, but this time I'm doing it in a sketchbook so that I can show in reels and other things. A sketchbook seems to be popular, and then also that way I'm trying to push myself to get better at drawing faces, portraits. So the goal is few more months, or at least whenever I'm going to start doing few more human figures. I think there are some artists who I admire. It's just a matter of practice. uh, I just need to pay attention and then practice. I know I can. It's just making time. I've been I need to give myself a, a deadline and then some serious thought about how to get improve, and then pay from there. And within the colors I paint and the things, there is always something which I feel is like, I could do better. So look at that. At the moment, what I'm trying to do is I'm coming up, beefing up the colors in the background so that all the smaller elements kind of stand out. So it's like a different way of making items pop up is by making the backgrounds darker. So if you want to make something look more white, make the surroundings look dark, and then it will pop up. So when you look at the mountain, there's a little more darker, and then the trees are a little more darker than that, and so forth and so forth. So you're trying to get those different values. I'm adding a little bit of water in the background, and I'm going to come and treat the water as well. So at the moment we just trying to finish. That one was too wet. I'm clearing up some. That one is turquoise light. So if you're new, you just need to practice. Have the best possible paper, professional quality paper, professional pigments, and then brush. As I said, the brush is not the most expensive I have, but you'll get used to it. And once you get used to it, stick with it. Be the master with the brush you have, and the same thing with the pigment. Don't select a brand which is convenient, or which sometimes maybe it's in a sale. Buy enough pigment. If it's a professional quality, most of my paintings are Sennelier, and then I have some Daniel Smith, and a couple of Holbeins, like a lavender and a turquoise light. I buy Holbein and Daniel Smith. The rest everything else is a Schminky or Sennelier, and then I go from there. And then I generally stick with the same colors. I use some of the colors more frequently than others, like yellow ochre, your grays, your cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. So by following or mimicking other mastercolor or watercolor, you'll force to change the color tones just to try to get them, and that kind of forces you to change your palette and do a little bit. And then when I look at the palette, I'm constantly mixing a lot of times, because that's an important time to think about, because I take time to make sure that the colors what I want is correct, and then there is a thinking process about what to do next, right? So there is, even though I'm talking, I'm also, not in this case, I'm thinking about what the next step should be, how to go about, and other things. So this one is done in a slightly different way. I didn't just go do a big wash and then paint. This one I've just gone from top to bottom, and I'm slowly painting like I would treat an oil or an acrylic. I'm just changing some tones to warmer tones. So I'm almost getting into the painting. And then if you notice, there's a lot of broken edges or dry brush strokes. That kind of adds character. You don't want one solid line. You just want those broken lines, especially the sheet I use is a rough paper. So you get nice texture. Yeah, so there's a little bit of shadow, a little bit of warmer tones. adding some more shadows, and so forth and so forth. So it's just it's a simple painting, but it's done in a very nice, simple way. And it's something I enjoy doing it. I've been painting for so long. I still, every day, I think about what to paint next. And while I'm painting something, I'm thinking about this one, maybe I should try something else. When I'm driving, I'm thinking about the landscapes. I'm stopping random places to take some photos. There's like probably 10,000 photos which are never painted. And that's the way you think about it, is you just are always thinking about painting. And I probably have done by now thousands of paintings, literally. And I still am excited. I'm still learning. And then there's such a huge gap from the best in the world to where I am right now. I'm not trying to compare, but I'm just saying um, there needs to be a healthy comparison for artists who you like, and then you want to try to get that kind of quality. So in this one, I'm using a white gouache, not a watercolor painting. A white gouache gives it's more opaque than a watercolor. Chinese white or a titanium white. I find, especially white, I use a white gouache. I think this one is a Daniel Smith. It was on a sale. Any white gouache will do. Purely only for applying highlights, and then I don't dilute it with anything else. I just squeeze from the tube, pick from the tube, and then apply it. So you can see those whites and other things. There is a nice layer applied right now. Yeah, white gouache is the only, I wouldn't say cheat, it's a trick to get really good reflection, is by using a white gouache. And then also for anything red, I think I use Daniel Smith Pyrrole Orange. Pyrrole Orange is another color which, at a small quantity, it looks fantastic. Oh, this one is Winsor Newton. Sorry, I can see it on the screen. It's Winsor Newton gouache. It's not Daniel Smith. That was on a sale. So generally, when I go, if there is a sale, I tend to buy a couple of tubes. I know that I will finish them. And also the papers, when I buy a pack of 125 Saunders, and I cut them. I have a huge roll of paper. At some stage, I want to do a slightly bigger paintings. I don't know when the time's going to come. It's been almost sitting there for more than a year now. About 2 meters wide paint roll. I think that one is Arches. I've been thinking about doing it. It's just not enough time. I've got a 9 to 5. I work as a mechanical engineer, and painting is a business which is highly rewarding, but not highly profitable. So I do some watercolor classes. I do some YouTube. I'm hoping that it will pick up in next few years. Selling or marketing is probably more tougher than me just sitting and painting. So I'm coming very close to finishing the painting. I'm just beefing up a couple of areas where it needs to be dark. And also if I are very close to the painting, I'm squinting to make sure I can see the shapes. Or you can stand, go a little further back, and then check the painting. But in this case, squinting works. So I'm just fuzzying the edges, making sure. So if you are looking at my face when I'm painting, I got make weird faces. It's because I'm just looking at a different angle, squinting my eyes, trying to get the best possible contrast and colors and other things. So I'm just at the moment, I'm just doing final touches, just making sure it has enough darks. So it's quite, it's not a, yeah, I'm using, while the painting is wet, I'm just using a palette knife to and do some negative lines. Yeah, and don't hesitate to use your fingers to add some textures and so forth and so forth. So adding some highlights, the door. And if you're wondering when to stop a painting, if you're wondering what else to do, that's a good sign to stop painting. I would stop probably about 90%. There could be still more things to be added, but you just need to stop at a certain time, uh, which for this painting is coming very soon right now. I'm just adding some highlights, a couple of places where it's catching some shadows, so forth and so forth. But it's 99% is done. So the tree in the front is looking flat. I'm just adding some more shadows to that tree. A couple of trunks, shadows, and I'm gonna sign and then let's call it a. So thank you for sticking around. Check out my podcast, Wet on Wet. It's a product of love. Also, I love to talk to other watercolor artists, and what a great place to not only talk but record and then share it to the audience. So there's 5 episodes already launched. Then there is another, I think about 9 episodes which I've already recorded. It's going to come all the way till November, and then I'm going to try to get a few more episodes for season 1 this year. Thank you very much, and bye.